Hey everybody, Jason here. This week I wanted to give you guys an update on Ashani. It's been a few months now since we revealed an early version of her, and that model we built so that we could start testing the game engine. But with the addition of Josh, our new art director, to the team, we knew we were going to start redoing characters like that and really pushing the visual design so that when the game launches, it's going to be something you can really be excited about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call Josh real fast, and we're going to talk to him a little bit about how we're thinking about Ashani and give you guys kind of a sneak peek into the work that's been done on her so far. Now, this is an early version of her. Again, still, it's a work in progress, I want to emphasize, but we want to show you guys the progress that we've made and give you kind of a realistic sneak peek at what it takes to build a really great character for a game like this. Hey, Josh.
Hey, how's it going, Jason?
Alrighty, so I'm recording our weekly vlog, and I wanted to give everybody a progress update on where we're at with Ashani, because now that you have joined the team and you're kind of bringing a new art style and new artists to the table, I wanted to show them how the visual style and the design for Ashani is evolving and impacting how we're designing her in the game.
Yep, awesome.
Cool, so I'm going to pull up in our vlog here the thumbnails that we did on the first pass with Ashani as we were looking at how we were going to redesign her. So one of the key problems we ran into with her originally was that her look wasn't stylized enough. It was reading a little bit more generic than we wanted. But then B, also, we weren't conveying both speed and power with the original design. And so we wanted to find a way to push that. Can you talk a little bit about how we use like these thumbnails, this first step to get us to solving those problems?
Yeah, so we have the concept artist, Jan. We give him the design brief. We say, hey, basically we said that exact same thing to our concept artist. And we said, hey, we want this character to feel strong and fast. There has to be a level of agility there. And we sort of gave the concept artist a little bit of story stuff, telling them who Ashani was, her source of power, and what her suit should be like. And then once we gave the concept artist all that information, he came back with these 7 sort of thumbnails that he just sort of whipped up. And the main things we were looking for is something that didn't look too bulky, but something that still looked like it was reinforcing, Ashani's combat ability, while at the same time showcasing some sort of space for us to showcase her own proprietary technology that she has invented that brought her to our universe to begin with. So, with that, we sort of decided that number 2 was our favorite to start from, and we modified that. So.
Yeah, and I think we brought in some elements from number 3 and some elements from number 6 to kind of smooth out those shapes a little bit. So I'm going to jump to the next image here, where we landed on kind of a core shape for the suit. And you can see the way we kind of blended together the best elements of 3 and 6 into the design that we landed on with 2 there. Can you tell us a little bit about why you think this shape in particular spoke to you as the art director in terms of conveying both speed and power for the character? Yeah,
well, so first of all, we had already shown the old concept art for Ashani. So there were some player expectations. And even though that wasn't locked down, we weren't completely beholden to that, I did want to make something that still harkened back to what people had already seen. So basically, those power gauntlets and, the shoulder armor and all that stuff, we wanted to do a variation of that. We just wanted to make it, a little bit better, a little bit more cohesive. So her upper body, sort of shows this strength. She has this punching power. She has this sort of, you can tell she could take a hit. Her vitals are all covered up, and at the same time, her legs are less armored. They're still got a level of protection, particularly in her, her thighs and in her boots and her knee pads and everything like that, but it's still sleek. It kind of creates a nice rhythm from the top to the bottom of areas of detail versus areas of rest, which is something I really, really dig and something I strive to do with all character designs. There has to be places for the eye to rest and places for the eye to be engaged. So this design started hinting towards that. And so once we got to this, we decided to take it to the next level and refine it even more. Not only that, but we started kind of honing in on her face, kind of honing in on, what is her personality, and we started creating conversations about her logo, like what should be her logo for her Ashani Corporation and all that stuff, as well as her hair, like what's the ideal hair that we want to do? Do we want to stick with the long, stringy hair that she had, ponytail, do we want to thicken that up? And I'm a big proponent for big, chunky shapes. That's something I just love. I think that characters should read really well. And just from a technical standpoint, like stringy, thin shapes tend to alias and get blinky and stuff like that. So when you build from just a thick, big shape aesthetic to begin with, it alleviates some of those problems, and it helps you it just naturally sort of coalesces into something that's going to read well in game. So with those sort of ideas in mind, we pushed forward.
Yeah, and I think I've brought up the third image now, where it's a little bit more polished. We've got the 360 view. This is something that you could then take and start doing some sculpting on. And I think one of the key things here was we went round and round about hairstyles and how do we make something that would make the character seem a little bit more iconic, original. So we landed on this hairstyle here, but it was going to end up being kind of a challenge for you to model, I think, given the way that it was really complex.
Yeah. Well, braids. I like braids, and I think that the style that we landed on. We looked at so many images of just hairstyles, and what would it look like to have it an athletic type hairstyle that wouldn't get in the way of her melee combat, but is still at the same time convey a sense of personality, and also at the same time harkened back to what she already had. And so just sort of a single braid that was kind of fat and worked its way into this sort of cool braided center, almost mohawk type thing down the side with some rad braid work on the sides of her scalp that created interest there, sort of got us thinking and got us talking. And as we moved on to the sculpt, it's still work in progress, but it's something I think I kind of dig. It's something unique that I haven't seen very often. It could be uniquely Ashani's.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and bring up the animation of you doing some sculpting here. So we're going to chop it up and show some various points, but one of the things I think is really cool is seeing the way the shapes come together and how you translate the kind of the 2D designs that we're doing into 3D shapes that kind of bring the character to life. What is that process like? And how do you translate personality from that 2D shape into a 3D character that you got to bring to life?
Oh yeah, so concept is one thing, and then translating it into a 3D model is, you got to resolve a lot of shapes. There's a lot of things that the concept artist may do that just looks cool in that particular pose, but once this thing becomes an actual model that has to move, you have to begin to think about how the joints and how the elbows are going to bend, and those big sort of gloves, are they going to clip into her biceps when she bends her elbows? Same thing goes for the boots. Will those boots fit with the sort of body type we want to go with? Are they going to be too big? Is it going to flow nicely? So there's a lot of thought process that goes into building this. And this is all still very, very work in progress. I want to add, I'm a little self-conscious about it still, but I think it's worth it to show players where we're going with this. The sculpt is still a little wobbly. It's not as polished as it needs to be for in-game, but this is where we're going. And with some refinement and with some with a little more time, it's going to be awesome. So yeah, getting those tech lines, getting the flow, getting material identity in place, what's going to be this sort of hard space age, plastic armor bits, and what will be the flexible sort of, I want to say leather, but maybe it's neoprene or another space age fabric that that would allow more flexibility, in her abdomen and neck and thighs, and what kind of reinforcements do those get? So all that kind of stuff, what areas should wrinkle, what areas should be tight, how much wrinkling do you put in to indicate the fabric tensile thickness or tensile strength or whatever, all that sort of stuff. So not only that, but then you also begin to think about the construction of the suit. You begin to think about, what pieces need to move, what pieces need to come out, and the gameplay requirements that, dictate that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so speaking of pieces coming out, I'm going to bring up one last video here before I let you go, and that's showing the little actuators on the shoulder, on the elbow, and down on the back of the hand that extend out from the suit and charge her up. So this is part of a Ashani-specific mechanic that really highlights the character of the suit, so to speak. And
yeah,
the idea here is that over time, her suit charges up, and these actuators really reflect that. So we're bringing personality out, not just in, how we do the shape of her body, her armor, her face, her hair, but also in the way the suit moves and acts. And Josh and his artists have just been really incredible, helping us solve these problems and making huge strides on the visual style. So Josh, how about, we get a lot of questions. How would you describe the art style that you're going for in the game? So if you could give us the 3-sentence version of what you think the art style, the direction that we're going, because obviously it's all still work in progress, but what's the direction we're going with this?
Aesthetically, the style that we're going for is sort of an exaggerated reality in terms of the shape language. We really want to have really big, appealing shapes. We want to be able to. I think we might have said this before, but we really want Ashani to fit in the same world as a ton of other creatures, robots, things, aliens, whatever. So we can't be too constrained in terms of shape languages. It has to be really versatile. But where we're going to bring in the relatability and stuff like that is that the material treatments are going to be, semi-realistic. Like metal will feel like metal, leather will feel like leather, and goat hair will feel like goat hair, whatever. So it's one of those things where we really want people to engage with these characters, on an emotional level. It's no secret. I totally want to see someone cosplay Ashani someday. I totally want to see someone build this armor. And if we can build the characters to be relatable and identifiable, and the materials are easy to read, and the designs, the character designs make sense, and they're appealing, I think that's the style we're going for from an aesthetic point of view, and combine that with the kind of gameplay ideas that we have been talking about. I think it complements the gameplay really, really well.
Great. All right. Well, thanks. I will let you get back to making the magic happen. But thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, thanks. Anytime, Jason.
All right, well, that's it for this week, friends. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you are as excited for the progress we made on Ashani as we are, and excited for the way Josh and his team have transformed the art pipeline at Wavedash. We think we're going to launch with a cast of characters that you're really going to love. And if you are excited by all of that, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure to share this video with your friends. We'll be back next week with even more great stuff from Josh and his team, and you won't want to miss it. So we're going to launch our game with a minimum of 8 characters, and I'm hoping to hit more, but we have 8 characters planned, and we know these characters are going to be in the game when we launch. And we want to do a mix of familiar and fresh. So familiar means you're going to sit down